Hello, welcome to this week's Scancast, and joining us in the studio we've got Mr. Phil Skins from Nova Distribution. Now he looks after Eve, he looks after Lindell, and he looks after Warm Audio, which is this lovely orange preamp down here. More on all of that later. Firstly, bit of news this week. SE microphones have extended their RF giveaway range. There's 5 or 6 different mics. If you buy one of them for the rest of the month, you get a free pop filter and a reflection screen. And as well as that, Native Instruments are giving away Guitar Rig 5 with every Complete Audio 6 interface. Now, it's a great interface from NI, same basis of the tractor unit, but with instrument and mic ins on it, and it's really, really low latency and good performance at those latencies. So it's a real key thing. So if you're up for an interface, you get Guitar Rig free for the rest of the month. Other than that, I think we should just get on and go and find out what these lovely bits of kit around us are. So if Matt wants to cue the video, Mr. Phil Skins will be back up after this.
Hey, good evening. So my name's Phil Skins from Nova Distribution. I'd like to thank Matt, Simon and Tom here at the Scan Pro office for letting me come down today. The focus for today really is to make the viewers aware really of Nova Distribution and our brands. Brands are all new to the industry. So like Tom mentioned previously, the 3 brands that we represent in the UK are Warm Audio, Lindell Audio and Eve Audio. Absolutely brand spanking new, and incredible prices, incredible quality, and I'm going to show you a bit more detail on the products we've got. So first of all, we're going to just look at a new exclusive from Eve Audio. We are looking in particular at the new Subwoofer range. Now these were fully finished at the Frankfurt show back in March. Production starts shipping very soon. I want to go through a couple of the key features for the Eve range. So basically, if we can go full screen. Okay. So Eve Audio has a range of monitors covering 2-way speaker systems through to 3-way and up to 4-way, and a collection of 4 different subwoofer sizes. So there's a real versatility in mixing and matching your various system configurations. So 2.1, 5.1, 7.1 can all be configured using the range. So the TS108, which was launched, incorporates some very clever technology, actually. The way it works is that the incoming signal is digitized through DSP, and with that digital signal, you have complete control over the filter characteristics of both the subwoofer and the satellites that it's connected to. So running an audio signal into the subwoofer from the outputs of your sound card or your mixing desk, there's an output left and right that goes out to the satellite speakers, and with the front panel. So if we can just go back to the main screen on this panel, if we look on the panel there, you'll see that there's 2 one-touch control digital controls. The first one provides the overall system volume, and that, when the subwoofer is activated, will raise the volume of the subwoofer as well as the satellites. You can then also dial in the satellite filter cutoff, the sub filter cutoff, the phase of the sub, and the reason for that is that depending on your room, there's lots of different situations, lots of different sizes of rooms, And so having that flexibility on that cutoff will all be down to your room acoustics. At the end of the day, if you one room will be completely separate to another room, and so having this flexibility will allow for a real balance of your bass tone. Now, the second dial on the bottom there just independently controls the subwoofer volume. And the great thing about this subwoofer system is that it comes with a handy remote control. So if I just go to the close-up camera, there we go. So there's the subwoofer remote control. If you look at the top right-hand button here, you'll see it says pure satellite. Now this is quite unique for this system. What it allows you to do, if you're in a 2.1 configuration, you don't always want the subwoofer active. You might want to bring it in to feel some energy of the track, feel the vibe, and at that point you may want to flick between going full range on the satellite, and because of the digital filtering, it will allow the satellite feed to be full range on the signal. But when you take it off, or when you take the pure satellite button off, it will then revert back to the subwoofer and the satellites, and it will reconfigure the filter response to include the subwoofer. So I think that's a very cool function. The other unique element of this subwoofer is that it incorporates a passive radiator design. Now, quite often subwoofers employ a bass reflex port, and the engineers, Roland Stens at Eve Audio, he decided that there's too much wind turbulence and really bad behaviours on them bass ports that can exhibit unwanted resonance of the sort, and so what they did is they employed this passive radiator. So essentially, at the bottom of the cabinet is essentially a diaphragm that isn't linked electronically, but it is coupled to the overall air mass within the volume of the cabinet. So as the driver pushes in, the passive radiator exerts. And with that, you get a very tightly controlled bandwidth for frequency response. Whereas if it was in a bass port design, quite often them real low bottom notes can sometimes resonate uncontrollably, and that will cause turbulence. So we're really happy to represent Eve Audio in the UK, and now that these subwoofers are available at the end of August, beginning of September. We can now talk about this whole story about 2.1 and surround sound systems. So very exciting, and I think the remote control really does offer a really nice little function to the system. There we go. Good. So we're going to now look at warm audio. Excuse me, I'm going to have a quick drink. Right. So warm audio. Warm audio is headed up by designer Bryce Young over in Texas. He currently is focusing his efforts on very high quality mic preamplifiers and DIs. So if we go full screen, this is his current catalogue, if you like. It's based up on this lovely orange fascia design, and the basis of what we're looking at here is really down to real, true analog balanced circuitry, discrete circuitry. Now, this is really talking about the TB12 in particular. This is from the specification, the design inside the TB12. And what you'll notice there is the transformers. Now, the transformers are a really important part of preamplifier design. And Cinemag are a company that hand wind transformer coils. Now they're based in West Coast America, so they have a real heritage going back from the 70s that feature in many of the classic outboard preamplifiers of the days, really, going through from the 70s to present day. They've been used in some really, some powerful and quite expensive outboard. The LA610, for example, employs the Cinemag transformers. But these particular ones have been custom designed with Bryce and Cinemag to offer a unique tone shaping of his particular product. So using these, it offers a very vintage sound, and in particular the TB12 is taking that to the next level. So if we go full screen, I just want to just show the front panel of this Tonebeast. Essentially, this is like it's like a toolkit in many ways. It allows the end user to have control for mic input, for instrument input, so he can put in his bass and his guitar. It's got a high impedance input to allow for that. It also offers line driving capability. So you can take your synthesizer output, you can put it into the Tonebeast, and you can really push them Cinemag transformers to saturate them transformers and saturate the components within the Tonebeast to offer a real tonal control. So on the input, as I say, we've got the mic, we've got the instrument input. There's also your sort of standard features, your 20 dB pad, you've got your phase polarity. There's a nice high pass filter to eliminate your bass rumble and your sort of microphone noise from traffic, etc. But then we move into the tone control section, and this is where it gets interesting because it offers two types of op-amp design within the unit. One is the 1731 op-amp design, and the other one is the 918 design. Both very different characters, different ways of saturating the capacitors on the op-amp, but also just allowing flexibility in your tone. And that's the same with the transformers. There's two independent transformers on the output. This is very unusual. Normally there's just one that balances the input to the output. But with this particular unit, you've got the choice of having a steel transformer or a 50% nickel transformer. And each has exhibits, shall we say, different characters depending on the material in the transformer. So you can see there's a real way of sort of mixing and matching different types of tone depending on your source. Now, one transformer output may work very well with a ribbon, for example. Another one may work well with a bass. So it's really about experimenting. You've got this toolkit available to you to allow mixing and matching all your different sources. So, for a musician, a producer that is, has multiple microphones, he might have a vintage ribbon, he might have a classics SM58, he might have, some condensers, he might have an array of different microphones. He may also be the bassist, a guitarist, and therefore this toolkit allows for real pushing them signals in a professional bringing them signals up in a very professional manner. And then at the end of the unit, you can see there's two units. If we go back again, sorry, to the keynote, you can see there on the right there's two gain stages. There's the output, and then there's the actual gain, and driving that gain will actually saturate and induce rich harmonics into the signal chain, which again, for some people that are real color freaks who love distortion, this is a great toolkit to take it from a vintage sounding, overly colored, overdriven sound through to a much cleaner and more transparent sound using the combination of the different selections. Massive 71 dB of gain. Interestingly, on the tone control there is a button called Tone. Without the tone button pressed, the gain can allow for up to 65 dB of gain. But when you press that tone button in, it gives you an additional 6 dB of gain. Now that is a huge amount of headroom and available gain in the system. And so, when you put that in, for bass guitarists in particular, they're finding that this tone button with bass it really brings in a very warm, rich bottom end to the signal. So that's the Tonebeast. We're going to actually incorporate the Tonebeast into a little Logic session we're going to run in a little while, and we're going to get Matt on bass just to jam in a little live signal into the session. Not now. In a minute. All right. So that's the Tonebeast. It's brand new. It comes to us the end of this month, so it will be available from the end of August. We're already seeing really good demand on it, and we're seeing lots of interest in this unit. The price on it is going to be £549. So, you know, if you can imagine how much that would cost to have a number of different preamps and DIs, this is a combination of lots of different DIs and preamp tones, all in the one unit. So really cost effective, very high quality, discrete analog circuitry, true analog professional equipment. All right. So this brings me on to the next brand that we represent, which is Lindell Audio. Again, a new company to the market. Lindell Audio is ran by a producer, a rock producer, Tobias Lindell, from Sweden. He decided that he would like to build a set of tools, engineering tools, that really kind of modeled themselves on gear from or classic gear, but with new functionality and slight changes on the design that he felt was, you know, for him personally, was great additions to the classic designs. So the thing we're going to talk about in particular is the new 500 series rack and modules that Lindell has now offering. These have just started shipping in the UK, and this is you know, something that has really sort of shook the industry, shall we say, because up until now the API 500 series has tended to be priced in the high hundreds, even into the thousands, and for, you know, the everyday musician producer, it can be a little bit expensive to populate a API rack. And so what Lindell has managed to achieve is to bring some classic designs into the market at incredibly cost-effective pricing. So what we've got looking here, if we can go full screen on the keynote again, starting from left to right. On the left we have the 6X preamp, 6X 500 preamp. Now this obviously is a preamp. Again, it's balanced transformer-based circuitry, and it also includes a Pultec style boost EQ. So what that means is that you can select certain frequencies in the high register and the low register, and potentially add an additional 15 decibels of boost in addition to the 50 decibels that are available on the preamplifier. So that means that you can really drive the bottom end or the top end around them selected frequencies, which is incredible. Very, very amazing sounding, and we'll have a listen to it in a little while. Excuse me. So the next one in the chain is the 7X compressor, so the 7X 500 compressor, and this really is a take on the 1176 style compressor. It's a classic design, and the functions on here really allow for just a little bit more than what an 1176 offers in terms of functionality. Notably, there is a compression mix which allows you to blend between the dry signal and the wet signal, which is great for drums where you want to really slam the drums, but you still want to bring some of the original tone of the drums. So mixing it up like this allows for so it's a very new character. You can really bring the drums alive. And then also on there is a sidechain high-pass filter. Now this allows you to take in a copy of the signal and sidechain it again at cut-off frequencies of 300 or 100 hertz. On the ratio, like the 1176, if you pressed all four buttons in on the 1176, it gave you a 100-to-1 ratio, and that is available on this compressor as well. So a great little compressor. Again, 229. All modules here are 229, which is incredible pricing. The last unit is the PEX 500, This is a classic, or it's modelled on a classic design, the Pultec EQ1PA, which is a glorious EQ that's been around for many years, and it works very different to your normal sort of parametric style EQ. The idea of the Pultec was to provide low shelving, again at particular frequencies, the magical frequencies, shall we say, the frequencies where you would find the most character from cutting and boosting, essentially. So the top end of the Pultec styled EQ really works on a sort of a bell curve, so you can dial in the width of the bell and the specific frequency that it boosts or cuts. And so the whole idea is that you get very sort of focused bell curves around really magical frequencies. And what we'll do is we'll have a look at that running in a Logic session shortly. So just looking at the back of the 506, because in this setup we have here, it's kind of pointing towards the ceiling, so therefore we can't really see the back of the unit. But I just wanted to give you an idea of how it works. This is the 506 rack. Now, Lindell has managed to bring in a 6-slot rack for £309, including VAT, which is, if you look around, is a pretty phenomenal price, to say the least. It's no frills. It really is all about offering you the everything that is a Lunchbox, but without any frills. So you've got 6 inputs, six outputs, and it's freely configurable to how you want to use it, how you want to populate it. So if we have a look now at the camera, I just want to give you a quick overview of it in the rack. So this is a fully loaded rack of Lindell loveliness. We have got it running like 2 separate channel strips, if you like. So number 1 is a 6X 500, then we have a compressor, and then we have the Pultec styled EQ. So that almost becomes one bank of a channel strip, and then that's repeated on the right here. So it's almost like a stereo channel strip. But because the back of the unit has inputs and outputs for every module, you can freely configure exactly how you want to use it. And that's the beauty of the 500 format, is the ability to just mix and match and use the 500 modules in different ways depending on what your job is in your production. Okay. So let's go back to Logic. Okay, so I wanted to just explain really what we're going to do. We felt, rather than just me just standing here like the shopping channel, just going through all the goods, we'd really incorporate it into a session. And so we've got a Logic X session running, and what we've done is I've asked DJ Break, who will be on the show shortly, via Skype, all being well. I asked DJ Break if he wouldn't mind helping me out by providing a session, Logic session, that I could use for this webinar to really encompass the 500 series within the session. And so what he did, he provided a load of stems, and within them stems we have obviously the bass line, we have the drums, we have the piano, and we have a dry vocal. Now the dry vocal was recorded through the Warm Audio WA12 500, because Break has gone into the magical world of the 500 series, and he's loving it. He has the 506, he has a number of the Lindell modules, and he also has the WA12 500. So because we don't have the vocalist in the room, we have done it in a way that highlights as if she was in the room. So the featured artist is a singer from Bristol called Kyo. She featured on Break's Resistance album. And this session we've got, and we've been provided for, is a new song by them. If I go back to the keynote, there we go. Let's go full screen. Sorry. There we go. So, just to give you a quick background as well, I'm sure most of you know already, but Break runs Symmetry recordings, and as well as obviously representing his own work, he does a number of collaborations, has a number of different artists, and the song we've got in the session, the Logic session today, is a song called Children of the Sun, and it's a new band formation from DJ Break and the singer I mentioned, Kyo. The band's called Degrees of Freedom, and the session we have got is stemmed from that particular song. So if we go to Logic and we go full screen, okay, so if we look on the screen there, you can if we highlight we have the bass line, we have the drums, wet. Now they were provided as a sort of a wet mix of the drums, along with the piano line, the vocals. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you how both the Tonebeast and the 500 series can work together. So what we did is we were given a vocal, dry vocal, and to get that into the 500 series, what we have to do is we have to prevent it going out of an output. So on the left there we've said no output. Let's just unmute it. Okay, and what we've done is rather than take it to an output, we've actually sent it on a bus, an auxiliary bus. So we've wound that channel out to an auxiliary bus 3. And if we look on the mixer, the auxiliary 3 is going out output 3 on my sound card. Okay, so then on the output, we can feed it into the input of the 500 modules. So if we go to the camera, overhead camera, so on this particular setup, what I've decided to show or to highlight this signal chain is to take that channel 3 output and feed it into the compressor, the 7X compressor here. Now on the back of the unit, that's obviously coming from the sound card into the input, but also I've daisy chained with a small XLR patch cable straight across to the input on the from the output of the compressor into the input of the Pultec style EQ, the PEX500, out of the the PEX500, and then back into channel 1 of my sound card. So then if we go to a channel which I've called Vocals plus Lindell 500, you'll see that that is now coming in on a mono channel, input 1, and now that is being fed to the stereo mix, the stereo output. All right, so if we unmute that, and also I think at this point it may be worth bringing in my colleague Matt, and maybe he can have a little jam on the bass live.
Actually, I think it's Simon who's going to play the bass.
So Simon, sorry, beg pardon.
Ironically, it is Matt's daughter's bass.
Oh, right, fair enough. Good stuff. All right, so yeah, essentially what I've done is I've taken the Tonebeast and I've basically fed that into channel 2 of the of my sound card. But the Tonebeast, because it has a send and receive as an insert point, I've thought, well, look, why don't I run a compressor and an EQ across the Tonebeast channel as well? Now, in a typical situation, you would be looking at inputting the signals into the computer, so you're kind of getting that raw analog sound from the 500 modules into the recording, so you're really getting that fat signal captured right from the beginning at source, and that's the beauty of the 500 series. It's completely one, portable, but secondly true analog equipment, so the signals are very hot, they're full of character, very rich, and once you've got them digitized onto the file, that character can't be removed. It's there from the beginning, and it will stay there, which is what it's all about, really. It livens up the recording. So we've got the Tonebeast with the applied compressor and EQ coming in, and we've got a session running now. So let's play that through. Let's just unmute the TB12. Let's mute the vocals wet, and there we go. So yeah. Okay, where's the dry vocal? Alright. Okay, so you can hear the dry vocal from Keo coming in there. If we go to the overhead camera. Okay, so you can see this compressor working in there. Essentially, what we've done is we've really limited it. We've put a 100-to-1 ratio on there. To be fair, the vocal is not jumping around too much, so therefore, really, the compressor is all about sort of taming that signal, and it's quite extreme compression, but it's highlighting the actual the response of the Lindell 7X. Now, obviously, we've sorted out the settings to allow for a very tidy compression of the signal. I could, if I wanted, flip the attack and the release to anywhere between slow and fast. There's lots of different settings that will allow you to really shape that and tidy that signal up. Now that's also being fed through to the Pultec EQ, and on here you can obviously see that we've got 100 Hertz on the bass, and we've boosted it right heavily. So if I take that off, you can see how thin that is. As soon as you boost and bring in that bandwidth, it really lifts the sound of it and brings in that that real character. But the whole idea with this is that you're kind of shaping it to the source that you're working with. So many different scenarios dictate what settings will work. A guitar will dictate certain bands of frequencies to be adjusted, where a male vocal may just need some sort of cut and boost on the lower register. But the idea is that it's truly analog, and it's there for you to squeeze and push and just get exactly tuned how you want. Good stuff. Yeah, so I think let's just bring in the Tonebeast a little bit. So if you can hear the bass in there coming through. And here we can see this channel running with the bass. So that's running from the insert send from the Tonebeast. Again, I've kind of done a fast attack on this. The bass, obviously, you want it to be quite quick when the compressor kicks in. But I've done a slow release because you want that compression to hold. You want it to give you that sort of tone and vibe of a nice riding bass line. And again, really, I've kind of boosted the lows on the PEX 500. But again, depending on your signal source, you can tune it to exactly how you see fit with the source you're using. So we've looked at two different ways of sort of working with the 500. One is obviously as a front end. So you could essentially bring in your microphone into the 6X500. You can then daisy chain it through to the compressor, daisy chain it through to the EQ, and then that can be fed into the input of your computer. Or you could run it as an insert configuration, where we just showed you where we took it from an auxiliary send out on a bus, brought it back in on a separate channel, but incorporating the 500 sound. So two different ways of working. Of course, you can also use it on a back end as well. There's no reason why you couldn't run, directly from the output into compressors and EQ and out to a mastering unit, out to your recording unit. Different ways, depends on what you want to do. And again, the flexibility. If you're running, maybe you're going between studios, maybe you're going to rehearsals, maybe you're going to a gig. You can just pop this 500 rack in a bag. There's a little bag it comes with. So you just put it in the bag, take it with you. So really, this whole session really is a very highly professional system, for the portable studio. It really shrunk down the need for big, heavy 2U outboard racks and racks of equipment. Potentially you can take the studio on the road with you. Literally, this is a session we've got here with a MacBook Pro running Logic, the 500 series and the digital audio interface. And what you can achieve from that is, one, you get a beautiful sound capture through true analog equipment, and secondly, it's truly portable. So thumbs up to the 500 series, and we're really impressed with the Lindell modules. So I think that's it really on that. We'll just shut off the session.
Okay, we have had a question in
okay.
from the chat room. Obviously, we've seen here with the Tonebeast being used with a bass guitar.
Yeah.
What's it like? Could you run, let's say, a synth bass through it?
Totally.
Yep.
That's the idea, and the Tonebeast allows you to drive line level signals. So you could come out the line level of the line level output on your synthesizer, and that's where potentially you would like the distortion to take on effect. Sometimes you want that raw distortion sound, that you can't generally get in a plug-in. It just sounds really kind of digital, and quite often it doesn't have that sort of roundness and doesn't have that harmonic drive that you can get from driving a transformer. And so, yeah, very much so. Yeah, it's all about any source you think that needs to have a little bit of drive, induce a bit of harmonic distortion. It's all about adding color and excitement to the tone, really.
Cool. Well, yeah, I think that wraps it up quite nicely.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Okay, so if we go to some VT, and then we'll go and see if we can get hold of Mr. Break.
Yeah, we'll get him on the line. Yeah, good stuff.
Okay.
Cool. Well, welcome back, everyone. We've been joined on the Skype call by DJ Break, Charlie. Hello, Charlie. Like I say, really appreciate you allowing us to use the stems within that in that Logic session. Much appreciated. Just to say, I mean, obviously, the sound that we were producing was very raw and dry, and obviously in no means a polished, finished version. So, really, that's something that the guys that are interested in that song need to go away to SoundCloud. It's available on SoundCloud on your...
It's on Degrees of Freedom on SoundCloud. So, yeah, check it out on there and hear the nice finished version as well.
Yeah, wicked, mate, wicked. So that's cool. You guys, if you want to check out that, go to his SoundCloud page and check it out in full. So we're going to bring in Tom now, actually.
Dive through with you. Hopefully with the lollipop stick. And, right, nice one. There we go.
Hi, Tom.
Hiya. Right, there's been quite a lot of interest in, obviously, in yourself. But what made you start to think, I really want to get that analog feel into your productions? Because, I mean, have you always been digital? Or did you start off in the old analog days?
I did start in an analog days and was on a Mackie desk. Had a little rack with like an ivory compressor, and most of my old tunes went through that a kind of a valve compressor at the end. So I've always sort of had that real taste for the analog sounds. So meeting up with Phil again after years, we knew each other back in the day, and seeing the products that he was representing now, it's exactly the kind of stuff that I'm into, because I'm still in that same price bracket and I can't afford, you know, these £2,000 a pop things. So
no, totally.
That analog realm for, you know, affordable prices is totally the one.
Completely, and that is one of the genius things about the Lindell range, in that I've tried out many different analog devices, and it really does seem like they've not compromised at all on sound quality, and you know, this is very, very similar to other well-known 500 series units, and to the, well, not in character-wise, but quality-wise.
Hunt them at the moment. Absolutely, yeah, because I've actually tried a few out recently, all these different clones of 500s, and it's the Warm and the Lindell, they're both just kind of really impressive for what you get, and I've put a few people onto the Warm already, and they're all getting great results.
Good stuff, good stuff. So
in your productions with the stuff, what kind of things are you actually using the Lindells for? What would you put through the compressor? I mean, has it made much difference on the drum track?
It has. I mean, actually, it's live percussion's been really good, because I just have a few, you know, instruments around the, you know, the studio that you use. I always like to put tambourines and shakers in, and the, you know, the sort of that 100-to-1 ratio is great for just blocking off your, you know, your level, and just being able to smack right in with the tambourine and know that you're not going to go over. And equally, the Cooltech EQs have a really crispy, nice top on them that I'm loving.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, do you think your drums are bigger because of this than you could have got in the digital domain?
Yeah, always. I mean, there's an analog sound. I always try and get some of that on my beats, and I use sort of analog drums often to start with. I think even more if you've got a synth drum, you know, sort of, you know, the kind of too shiny, bright digital hi-hats, things like this that you want to warm off. You know, with an actual real tone, it comes back in sounding more real. And that's what my sort of production mission is always about, trying to get it to sound real. So anything that aids in that realness is you know, is essential, really.
Absolutely.
Stuff.
Cool. We've had a couple. I've been putting this out to a couple of places, and there have been a few questions that have come in for you, because obviously, you know, everyone's it's a bit like the noisier thing where everyone wants to know how you do it. Now, we're not expecting you to go and let off all of the trademark secrets here, but one of the big debates at the minute is about master bus dynamic processing. When you're actually working, do you put anything over the master bus? Or do you leave it bare?
It's a bit of both. It's as much a sort of sore point for me as everyone else, really. And I'm in that battle. I mean, most tunes that I make without a limiter on the end, coming to that point and putting one on, it's always quite disappointing. And you're like, oh, it's getting worse. And so I've somehow got a battle to improve it whilst getting it louder. There are times when I'll put a limiter on from the beginning and you work into that. But usually with those tunes, it gets to a point where it's all too mushy, and you turn it off and sort of start your mix again and work back around that circle. So it's a tricky one. I use them like everyone else does, but it is just a balancing act, and kind of generally it would just be nicer if you didn't have to put them on to start with.
Yeah, well, thank you for the loudness war for that one. You know, especially if we think back to, in fact, the point that I originally know Phil from, which was about 20 years ago, where we used to go to the same record shop buying drum and bass, ironically. Yeah. But when you look back at the old school productions, the dynamic range was so much bigger. I mean, obviously things were cut to vinyl and it got mastered at the cutting house. But
it's something that I've had to get used to, because I grew up with vinyl cutting at the heart of the production, and you knew the limitations of vinyl, so you had to sort of produce to vinyl. And since that's kind of declined and everyone's producing more for digital, I think that's where those limiters have come in more. Because if I turned up with a totally pro-Eld tune at +5, that just won't cut to vinyl very well. But for digital, it's less of a worry. Even so, I still absolutely leave, you know, a percentage of 5-10% for the mastering on the top, because no matter how much you do it in your studio, that is why mastering engineers are there.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. Just out of interest, do you actually go and attend the cuts with them, or do you have you got one that you normally trust and you can send stuff to?
Bo Thomas at 1087 Mastering, and I've been going there for him for 10 years or something, and I think there are obviously other really good guys, but when there's a guy who knows your music, they know how much you would want it pushed, how bright, how bakey, and all that. So
it's about having the relationship with the mastering engineer.
Absolutely, and just from going up there for all these, I've probably been to about 70% of all my records that have been cut, and I've just learned every session you go up there, you realise how it could have been better. He's got loads of tips on just how to improve your mix. So it is hard work really to get that master and to get that final mix sounding really good. So it is just a constant mission, like it is for everyone else. But the more I do it, obviously the better your mix is before you put anything on the end of it. That's always crucial, I think.
Totally. Another question that we've had is, ironically, about synths. What's your favourite synth, especially for getting mid-tone leads?
Well, I'm not a massive mid-tone lead man in my music generally, because I do struggle to find synths that I enjoy hearing.
Are you a virtual man, or do you prefer to go and get something physical?
A bit of both. I mean, it depends partly on your studio setup. I'm in between places at the moment, so space is a little bit of an issue. So I can't have a few synths all set up in the room, which can be nice. I've got a Virus and a Nova. And the Virus, has always had a classic, really warm, thick sound for mids. I've always been impressed with like the Korg plugins, the Spectrasonic stuff. I'm just looking over to try and sort of rack my brain. Someone showed me Diva the other day, which is I got a demo of that.
Yuhi program,
very thick and nice sounding. So there are ones out there, but you've just kind of got for me it's 10 seconds, you sort of put it on, go through a few presets, and you can just tell what the sound is. Yeah. And I guess it's just trial and error, really. But to be fair, I would instantly be sending those out to something like that, the full warm track, or any of these preamps to get a bit of live, real, actual tone on them. Resampling is always what I've done with synths. So
yeah,
again,
absolutely.
That feed into I've been talking about exactly today.
The processing that you can actually do, reprocessing, and it's often the third or fourth generation of a sound or a sample that you'll end up working with. Is that the sort of extent that you'll go in?
That's often when people say to me, how do you get a bass sound or how do you get a synth? It's like, it was that synth, five processes back, but it's by that stage it's been pitched down, sent through some outboard, come back in, been resampled, maybe done it all again. But that's something I learned early on when I was producing, was just like the first version of that synth is not going to be the one. So you've got to put some effort in to get that that tone and that flavour on it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Out of personal interest at this point, are we about to have some more new material from you? Symmetry's been quite quiet for the past sort of year. It's not, is it these other projects that you've been spending your time on?
Yeah, I've been juggling a bit. It's been tricky to sort of do several genres at once, kind of thing. But we've actually got quite a lot of musical lined up on Symmetry. It's just been the sort of slow backlog of the process of vinyl and getting records out. So I've been as frustrated probably as the listeners, where I'm like, we've got 8 records waiting. But we've got 2 singles out at the moment, Symmetry 13 and 14, and then 15 is the extra EP, which we've just mastered actually last week or so. And that's going to be a big one for this year. It's featuring DRS on it,
yeah, absolutely. We know him at Mancunian, just down the road from us.
Yeah, and Codebreaker also is on vocals. So it's a really good package, that one, for kind of September time.
Yeah.
And I've got about 4 more singles lined up to try and squeeze out before Christmas. So
excellent. Well, I think everyone's going to be happy to hear that we're going to get a nice new slew of releases from you.
For sure. No, we're not letting back at all.
Good stuff.
Cool. Just as one last thing, what advice have you got? If you were going to be signing new artists to Symmetry, what advice have you got of them actually sending you demos? Like, what do you want? How do you want it? What's best? Because it's changed a lot. In the old days, we used to get a cassette tape, and you used to drop them a cassette. If they liked it, you'd send them a digital master. Then we went through the whole AIM phase, where it was just about who you could send tunes to on AIM. What, as a label owner now, what are you looking for from up-and-coming artists?
I think it's kind of a mixture of the things you've touched on there. I mean, I think the way I look at it with a lot of people, it is the potential to some extent in terms of just the music itself. I mean, we're not a kind of big press-related haircuts sort of label, so we're not going to be like, okay, it's that whole world of it. But it's much more like, do you have the potential? You might not have the finished ultimate super fat mix down, but there's definitely guys I've helped do mixes for them, or they come up to the studio here and get a finished mix. So I'm always willing to help people get the tune that it should be. And if you can hear a really good tune, you'll know that will, basically smash it once it's just pulled off to the full extent. So I think it is that element of originality, which is cliched, but it's like that is what everyone's looking for. But on the flip side, as a label, we've kind of got a sound which I think the artists I've accepted tracks from in the last year do sort of fit into that sound, even though their styles are quite varied.
Yeah.
So I think it is a bit of perseverance, because I've had plenty of experiences with labels where I've sent them the track I thought they wanted and it wasn't. And you've made this track, you've listened to their catalogue, you're like, oh, they must want to have this because this is their sound. And sometimes it works, but sometimes it's almost like the fourth track on the CD you didn't expect they want. So
yes, no, I've been there. I've totally been there. You do something, this is you. Yeah. No, it's not. Really?
Exactly.
But
totally.
Everyone's different. As actually sending you demos, what format do you like to have them in? Is it into SoundCloud links? Is it emailed MP3s clogging up your inbox? I guess you probably know that one. But
we've got on the Symmetry Facebook page, there's an email link to an email address which my label manager Clive and myself both sort of check into, and we go through the stuff.
Yeah.
And just try and get through the demos. But yeah, those do get listened to, and obviously guys at gigs still give me CDs, and that always works because it has been put in your hand, so it's happened.
Yeah.
And I think it is. I think the other thing is that it's almost a case. I always look at it as thinking, even if I don't get that tune and I didn't even open the email, if the tune's good enough and more other people hear it, I'll eventually hear about it, and everyone will hear about it. So I always think of it like that. If whoever you are is good enough, the more you get out there and you get people, maybe the odd one or two people playing it, the word will spread. So I still think word of mouth is it, really. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, thank you very much for coming on. It's been great.
Wicked. Cheers, Charlie. Nice one, mate.
Nice one, Phil.
Later.
Soon. All the best.
Yeah,
cheers.
Nice one. Take care,
Thanks, mate.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so that was Charlie, DJ Break. Obviously, lots of new material coming on Symmetry, which is great to hear. We're going to pretty much end up on that. I think, Phil, do you want to have a bit of a jam on the...
No, I think...
Are you sorted that you've got the
I think I've got
the sound out?
I've covered all the bases. I think it's very difficult when you're in a webcast to truly explore the sound potential, because obviously we're going through streams, we're digitizing, we're not getting the full representation of the 500 format in its full glory. We're talking levels in up to and in excess of 26 dBu. Now, the old school consoles from yesteryear and even now, reach these types of signal output. And so, it's not until you hear it in that domain, or certainly have a channel, signal channel flow, through your system that really tunes that gain structure in. It's very important to get that gain structure in right at every level, and obviously working to quite a tight little schedule tonight and incorporating so many different new toys for the market, new brands. I felt we've only just touched on the true essence of the 500 format and what potential it has inside the digital domain that we're all so familiar with these days. Everyone has got a computer and a sound card and millions of plugins. They might even just be using the standard inputs on their sound cards, but to be fair, it's not as exciting as putting it through true analog circuitry, and this is the key feature, and this is what we've been trying to encompass tonight, is that sort of whole element of analog all the way, really.
I think there comes to a point, especially when people have been working exclusively in the box, that there is the true analog tone that you are getting with these units. And coming out, it is something that, I mean, everyone's been trying to emulate this for years. And the reason that it's still extremely popular is it's zero latency, because it's analog. So having this as your preamp, and then you're coming in and you're monitoring without any delay. And it's just the clarity. What they've managed to do here with
you see that
the quality.
I'm going to get it. Me angry son.
What we've managed to do with the quality of these units is just truly unbelievable. And the fact that they're now affordable for the guy in his bedroom. Totally. To go and step it up. Well, you wouldn't use this to start with, but as a part of improving your signal chain and improving the level of your production. This is key. I mean, it really is mastering grade, and I think that's one of the things that I really love about it.
We feature the Lindells here, but there's some fantastic modules on the market. They're by no means alone, but obviously we're presenting the Lindells, but Moog have got the filter. I mean, the Moog classic Moog filters in a 500 format. I mean, that's what's missing certainly in that pack, is a really solid filter that you can truly sweep across frequency ranges and get that amazing Moog tone. It's
cool. Well, I think the screensaver's boding us that it's probably time to
go home.
Time to go home.
Have a beer.
Absolutely. Join us next week, as we've got something really special. We've got Roland in, who are obviously the old-time synthesis dons. We're going to be running a synthesis workshop with them. It's actually Gareth Bowen, is it Gareth Bowen, Simon? Yep, who's coming down. He's been Tricky's keyboard player for over 10 years, and he's recently been touring with Maximo Park. So if you want to find some of the secrets of the experts, and to be honest, if you want to throw him some challenges to say, I want to make a sound a bit like this, hit us up on Facebook, hit us up and send us some samples and go, right, go on, recreate that. He'll be showing you on some of the Roland kit, but it's going to be techniques that you could apply across the board, no matter what synth you're using. So that's next week, 7 p.m, same time, same place, back here. And don't forget, if you are watching live, you've got access to all of the exclusive deals on the Lindell kit. I can't tell you how much these are going for or what deals that we've got published, but if you're on the page, you've got a chance to get into this at a very, very favourable rate. So thank you very much for watching. We're going to, certainly I'll see you next week. I think Steve's back. Steve's currently sat in a bar in Spain. If we give him a little wave, he'll hate Steve. That. Hi, Steve. So yes, he's back, golden, and rather than our studio tans, and we'll see you next week, 7 o'clock here on the Scan Pro Audio Webcast. Mr. Matt, roll the titles.
Thanks a lot.